Hey moguls, this is Dr. T, and I'm just coming to you with another amazing mogul level multi-million dollar upgrade to transform you from a leader to a top mogul, major, influential, wealthy, healthy, positively contributing reality maker. And the focus that we have today, in order to help you expand your power, your health, your wealth, your influence, your feedback loop of how you create your reality, the ability to help you get into a higher level of empire making, dynasty creating, and all of the things that go on with the top powerful moguls of reality who are running the show, and to get you further along your track through your ascension, through what one of my clients refers to as the mogul journey. Is our focus today is about helping you renounce romantic fantasies and to create strategic partnerships and realities. So let's dive in. And I really invite you to tune all the way in and receive the upgrade that is being given to you right now. Upgrades are immersive processes. They reprogram us, they click in, and they change our world from inside our human design operating system. They raise our frequency, they upgrade our reality. So stay tuned, hold that attention span, and let's get this upgrade done. Okay, moguls. So, why would we want to renounce romantic fantasies and create strategic partnerships and realities? Well, as much as I have been a romantic in my life and have a different and updated view of what I consider romantic, given uh, and relative to what I have been fed and programmed for in my life, I am really inviting you to take this upgrade as it comes from a very high level source that is giving us a new transformational destiny, and also helping us see, as I have gotten to in my life, in my career trajectory, getting to work with very high net worth and ultra high net worth people and moguls who build empires and dynasties and operate the game of reality on a very different level. I'm wanting to share with you how they do this differently, because the reality is that the mass population has been given a lot of romantic fantasies or a lot of romantic narratives. And to be very blunt and direct and more authentic as I continue to do so and be able to transmit and transfer from these ultra high net worth amazing mogul dynasty empire level people who operate as power couples and dynasty families to you on your mogul journey so you can ascend through your trajectory. It's to understand that you've been fed, you've been programmed, you've been given a different strategy than the world's most powerful, healthy, wealthy, prosperous people that have more abundance than they'll need for generations to come, while your family just keeps starting over, where everyone in it has to like become an adult and start from zero, which is the mass population. So the difference is that the mass population and what used to be referred to in the days of the monarchy, which you can, depending on where you live, you may be living under one. And depending on where you live, you may come to realize that even though you thought you didn't have one, one is operating. It's called the power structure elite, and they are operating as kings and queens and princes of reality. And in the old reference to the mass population, this would be called the peasant population, and maybe the merchant population, and various aspects of the people who are not in that royal realm, that it would be very beneficial for you to ascend into and take your turn at the throne. And in the more peasant merchant population, even though that's not what it's referred to people directly these days, and it's more referred to as the masses, the reality is that you are given in your education in the slave system to get you a job, to give you a cog. Job is a cog in the wheel where other people are getting programmed into being moguls, building empires and dynasties and legacies. You're also being given as a consolation for being in more of that mass population or the slave system where the masters are running the show. You're being given a consolation of this romantic fantasy, and you're being given this as a bit of an escape fantasy, a rescue fantasy. You're being given as your big goal in life, for the most part. You're being given this as the Holy Grail, some romantic fantasy that you're going to get with someone. They're going to heal all the trauma and somehow make up for what mommy and daddy were not able to do as they were navigating the slave system and passing that on to you and all the dysfunction and trauma of it. And that the consolation and the hope as you're down in the low frequency while the other people play the video game on a different level, telling you it's one game when they're playing another, is that you're going to have this person and you're going to have this thing called love, and it's going to just be everything. It's the Holy Grail. It's sweeping you off your feet. It'll solve all your problems. It's the answer to everything. And it's essentially a form of a rescue fantasy, which is why, for the most part, in the masses who do this whole thing, this dance very differently than the moguls who form different types of relationships because they've been given a different set of priorities to master reality. What happens is you're given romantic fantasies that also distract you, bring you into believing that instead of mastering reality, that you can somehow align in some romantic fantasy that will take all the pain away and all the hurt, make everything better, and somehow you're going to rescue each other and heal each other's wounds and be what you didn't have with mom and dad, even though for the most part, unless you get into mogul territory, you're going to live out pretty much the same pattern because you're in the same reality and identity, right? So you have all these romantic fantasies, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, things like this, and the romantic fantasy that love can cure everything, when in reality, in the frequency scale of energy, love, as wonderful as it can be, is somewhere between 4 and 500 on a frequency of 1000, with enlightenment, truth, and pure flow at the top of the 1000 frequency, as we all hopefully have been, at least in some moments of our lives, in a beautiful flow state where you're one with reality, you're in flow, you're aligned with the universe, and everything is happening through you instead of you having friction in that process. So you're given this destiny to make this your most massive priority, that somebody and you are going to fall in love, which I think is a weird word. And that's going to be the answer. And that's the strategy. And this romantic fantasy then gets people to like get married to each other and still make love the only primary strategy, when in reality, the way that the moguls, magnets, titans, and tycoons and power couples of reality do things is they are aligning in strategic partnerships. We now sort of refer to these folks as power couples. For a long time, these were kings and queens and noble men and noble ladies or noble women. These folks are taught to have strategic alliances as the priority. And while, yes, they want to do this with people that they find attractive and energetically cohesive with them, the larger purpose of being masterful in reality, creating a massive, amazing, positive, incredible, beneficial impact to themselves, their family, and humanity, creating multi-generational dynasties, legacies, succession plans, and literally building the world that we live in that is telling everyone else what to do. These are people that are groomed and bred and programmed to create strategic partnerships that may end up, as they often do, in marriage where it's a husband and a wife, but this is not necessarily how these people think of themselves. They are strategic partners. They are in alliances, and they're coming more and more into this. We're finding now that we're seeing now that while the world's wealthiest families have always done this and have not necessarily been putting this on social media, because that's not really how they operate, we're now seeing that as a lot of the celebrities are finally moving out of the ridiculousness of the romantic fantasies we've all been fed, and I completely relate to this. The more time I spend with some of the world's wealthiest families and helping them create their empires and dynasties, the more clear it is why they are so successful, why they are able to create what they create. And even though they need that help and support too, or they wouldn't be inviting it in with advisory, it's very, very important for everyone to know that when you start to shift from the romantic fantasy and begin to create strategic partnerships and strategic realities, everything can change. And then instead of shooting for like, oh my God, love is the destiny, when love is 400 to 500, which is barely at the middle of the frequency of reality, we can be shooting for the highest purpose, the highest levels of truth, enlightenment, creativity, innovation, flow. And this higher frequency aspiration be what is bringing your frequency up, because the single biggest is through your higher intentions. That's what all of my transformational books are about, and my transformational programs are based in this methodology. So when you go into higher intentions, like innovating anything, creating a new product, creating a new service, creating something that's never existed before, or changing something that has, the more you are in your intentions, the more your frequency raises. And this is why, instead of being in romantic fantasies where you're shooting for barely the middle, where love and falling in love is supposed to answer all your prayers and solve all your problems and create all of your prosperity, which when you look at it, That's not what happens for people. You can start seeing that strategic alliances and partnerships create amazing high level realities and destinies. And this is a difference. This is legacies, multi generational dynasties, exponential wealth, health, and people that are creating momentum generation after generation that can really be free and then still create, but create from a place of freedom, because freedom is also at the top levels of frequency. So imagine if you were given, if you were going to be given any romantic fantasy, imagine you were given the directive to shoot for such a level of self actualization and strategic partnering and collaboration and co-creation in amazing power couple partnerships, empire companies, dynasty families, and awesome stewardships and co-creationships of purpose, prosperity, high energy, and freedom as the ultimate destiny, where then there is a whole nother level of exponential growth and prosperity that comes from the amazing freedom to keep giving generously. Imagine how your life would be different. Imagine what you would create if you were not just given this romantic fantasy as your destination, the holy grail. And we could just all take a look and see that to a great degree, love, while it's lovely and we know this, it is also too low of a frequency to be life's strategy, as it has a lot of pain still in it, because right below it you're down in a pretty low frequency. So it's only one level above one of the lower frequencies between 300 and 400. At 400 to 500, you start feeling a lot better, but we don't want to be shooting for the middle. But it's a great distraction technique that was given to the masses, and it is a bit of a consolation. This is why trauma bonds are basically what people think love is, and why all these other elite, powerful, top level mogul people who were given a different playbook and directive, they have the process of aligning in strategic partnerships, alliances, power couple relationships based in purpose, based in building empires and dynasties, new realities, multi generational wealthy families, and incredible successive legacies of being leaders and role models of reality, innovators, and people who get to call all the shots. And we hope they have our best interest at heart. And yet, we could see that if we were given the directive to get into that level of freedom and prosperity, we would have the power, all of us individually, in the way that we'd like to craft out our own reality and the world we live in and the population that we are amongst. We would have the ability and the power and the mogul capacity to be architects of a greater reality and taking our turn at the helm and the throne, instead of leaving the same people and the same families to do it generation after generation, and also expecting some different results, rather than your strategic partnerships, your strategic dynasty family, and getting that oriented in that direction, your reprogramming of yourself and the people that are closest to you, making that a priority. This is why the wealthy keep innovating and getting freer and freer, and the masses keep contracting and getting more tired and more exhausted, and unfortunately in a lot of cases more hopeless and suffering and pain and some of the worst symptoms and conditions that humans can express through the low frequency reality and the directives they've been given, and unfortunately followed generation after generation, even though we've all seen and know about and have been given the stories of all the unfortunate problems that happen in the area of love and relationships for our parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents, our great great. It's generation after generation of that same strategy, while the wealthy make strategic alliances and partnerships and new realities and continue to do so while the mass population keeps learning the same lesson over and over, but repeating it to a greater level of intensity. I think we're at a point in reality where people are fatigued by this, exhausted. No, it does not work. And while there are some great success stories, it is likely the couples that you look up to and the ones that we see doing the best in transformation in our company are people in our coaching programs are people who are both aligned in a purpose, focused on a mission, creating a higher reality, and also through their human design system and profiles have a good energetic operating system match that is collaborative and cohesive and on point for a shared purpose. And that is its own type of attraction, its own type of system and collaboration, because more than anything, even though we come into having these personalities, we are energetic entities here to create new realities. The creator is creating through us, and the evolutionary multidimensional forces of reality are coming through us to create new things and create them individually in strategic partnerships and groups and families and companies. And this is the opportunity. So, for this upgrade, my invitation to you is to renounce the typical romantic fantasies that were given in this kind of childlike rescue fantasy panacea that has people shooting for the middle, and start to replace it with being more like a mogul, where you're literally shifting out of that programming and creating strategic partnerships and therefore strategic realities based in mission and purpose and the attraction through that process, which is an incredible thing to experience. And having, moved through a lot of that other paradigm myself, because it was very, very embedded through my own ancestry. I feel very fortunate to be connected to people that do it differently, get to witness that, facilitate that, and also know that no one in that sphere of the top moguls are just sitting around thinking that love is just some strategy that's going to take them everywhere, including to the highest level relationship they can have. They're always bringing in advisory, experts, coaches, people who can make sure that everything in their life, that's very different than like, oh, we're going on just the love strategy. And then if we're really, really bad, maybe we'll go to therapy. Probably we won't. That's a reaction versus a strategic alliance with advisors and intention about everything operating at the highest level. This is your invitation. I'm excited for you to receive this upgrade and begin to operate in this new mogul reality, having conversations with people, dates, partners, different people in your life, even looking at having friendships be more strategic partnerships, because that's something that these amazing moguls do. Is even though they have friendships, they're always in a creative process, and they get to be friends who can co-create millions and millions of dollars together. and they just have a different playbook that I'm excited for you to open. All right, moguls, way to take this upgrade in. Please like and subscribe to the channel. There is a lot more mogul training for you to get your mogul upgrades in and get yourself on the mogul trajectory, ascending higher in your reality, taking your place in the king and queen level as a destiny, so you can create a legacy different than the one of multi-generational repeat patterns of suffering and difficulty. Let's replace that with multi-generational health, wealth, success, and dynasty family reality. All right, moguls, please share this with someone who needs it. Comment and let me know what resonates with you and where you are watching this from and what it is that you're going to do about it. All right, moguls, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.